In this session, we will examine the aspects and mechanisms of fasting that affect our body, both in the individual level and the society. We will in future sessions discuss the impact of fasting on decision-making as well. While we will touch on the neurological effects of fasting, this session will focus primarily on the physical and social effects. Throughout history, fasting has been a religious and cultural practice followed by different religions and beliefs around the world. Each of these beliefs defines a particular set of behaviors as fasting, such as to avoid eating, stop drinking, no sinning, being alone, doing or not doing something at a specific time, suffering, isolation, avoiding society, not speaking, and the like. In Eastern religions such as Buddhism, fasting is used as a method for concentration and mental calmness. Similarly, in monasticism and similar beliefs, it was believed that giving oneself a hard time and enduring hardships strengthens the individual's spirituality. Fasting was practiced with isolation, abstaining from food, silence, leaving social gatherings and ceremonies, and focusing on suffering oneself. In Hinduism, fasting is a method of spiritual and physical purification and is used as a means to achieve spiritual calmness. In Christianity, fasting is defined as abstaining from certain foods or being calm or silent at specific times of the year. In various versions and branches of Islam, fasting is considered one of the 5 main pillars of religion and is performed as a duty during the month of Ramadan. It includes not eating or drinking water and being pious throughout the day. Traditional beliefs on benefits of fasting by followers of religions is very diverse and different, like the rich and the poor become equal. By fasting, the fasting people remember the day of judgment. Fasting is a shield against fire of hell. Fasting in the heat is jihad. Not eating delicious foods during fasting makes those foods available to the individual in heaven as a reward. Some non-religious individuals and philosophers have also expressed many theories about the concept of fasting, its purpose, and the impacts of fasting. For example, Nietzsche and Schopenhauer considered it a tool for gaining willpower and freedom from desires. Aristotle and Epictetus mentioned fasting as a practical way to strengthen patience. Hegel also believed that fasting helps self-commitment and spiritual purification. Overall, there are many opinions and interpretations in favor of or against fasting. Here, we examine fasting based on the latest and most credible scientific articles and research. The body's mechanisms for fasting. The human body has 2 very complex and different mechanisms for keeping the body healthy in the face of changes and environmental conditions. These 2 mechanisms are known as AMPK and mTOR. In fact, the body recognizes 2 types of general conditions from the interaction between itself and the environment: abundance of food resources versus famine. In the normal state, the body's health balance depends on switching between these 2 mechanisms, because each of these mechanisms has the ability to make specific changes in the body that the body needs to stay healthy and strong. The mTOR mechanism is activated when the body is in a state of abundance by eating sugars, carbohydrates, and proteins. However, the AMPK mechanism is activated gradually in critical conditions and the lack of food resources for a long time and lack of nutrition. As mentioned, one of the activators of mTOR is the consumption of carbohydrates and sugar. This mechanism is not directly stimulated by glucose itself, but by the presence of insulin in the blood. It should be remembered that AMPK and mTOR are 2 opposing intracellular pathways, and each one deactivates the other. The mTOR system is activated and kept active by eating carbohydrates and proteins and increasing growth hormones. As long as insulin and amino acids such as methionine are active in the body is in a growth or anabolic state. In contrast, the AMPK system, or lack of food resources, is activated in ways that the body's cells feel this deficiency either from not eating food or from consuming existing resources. AMPK is activated by these cases: fasts that limit the intake of any calories into the body, ketosis or diets that restrict carbohydrate intake, eating plant materials that contain flavonoid and polyphenol molecules, and exercise. Exercise activates this pathway in a short time and by consuming the resources available in the muscles and liver. AMPK and autophagy. After AMPK is activated, its downstream events such as the SERT and alpha-PCG1 genes and autophagy are activated, all of which are different types of DNA protection and repair of body cell tissues. On the other hand, when mTOR is activated, the priority changes from repair and protection to growth and proliferation. The consequence of this event is increased cell proliferation and the strengthening and building of new muscles and tissues. One aspect of staying in the proliferative state is increased DNA damage and the production of waste proteins in unfavorable conditions of cell proliferation, which ultimately leads to an increase in cancerous tissues in the body. In a healthy state, our body has the ability to perform many of its own intracellular mechanisms, including repairing insulin sensitivity, rejuvenating stem cells, and optimizing intracellular mechanisms and proteins. To activate this therapeutic and rejuvenating mechanism, the body does not need any medication. Rather, simply by spacing out meals, the body can enter the AMPK system on its own. A part of the intracellular processes of AMPK is called autophagy. During autophagy, a second membrane miraculously begins to form inside each cell. In an intelligent way, it collects the materials, proteins, and even inefficient and excess mitochondria inside itself, then breaks them down, converting the defective and inefficient parts into raw materials that the cell can use. In waterless fasting, which is common in Islam, the body loses some of its water after a while, and when new water is not replaced, the concentration of electrolytes such as salt or sodium in the blood increases. This change in blood concentration causes the body to secrete vasopressin to prevent further water loss and further increase in blood concentration. Over time, if no water is added, the blood concentration gradually increases and enters a state called hypertonic shock. In this state, the cells not only release their water reservoirs and compounds into the blood, but also transfer the water that they produce inside the cell as a result of burning fat, carbohydrates, and proteins to the blood after production. Autophagy, along with hypertonic shock, causes a specific type of autophagy called hypertonic autophagy, which not only digests proteins and cellular waste products, but also begins to optimize and shrink microtubules and the basic structures of the cell. This type of autophagy is similar to emptying the trash of a house and repairing the damaged exterior parts. However, in hypertonic autophagy, the skeletal and more fundamental structures of the building are also completely renovated. This severe type of autophagy not only increases cell survival, but also reduces many inflammatory factors, including cancer-causing tumors, arthritis, some allergies, and many inflammatory diseases. This type of autophagy also increases the proteins produced by the cell that play a role in improving the diseases of vascular and heart occlusion. It also repairs and rejuvenates many body systems and prevents premature aging and many diseases. It also causes a very significant decrease in antisocial behavior and an increase in the desire for cooperation and collective love. This is one of the main results of increased vasopressin hormone in the body. autophagy, and AMPK related processes start 8 to 16 hours after the start of fasting, depending on individual and genetic characteristics and nutrition. Staying in this state for a long time can be very harmful, especially for the elderly who need their muscle mass. Overeating carbohydrates before and after fasting not only eliminates the effects of fasting, but can also be very harmful and even cause adverse effects such as increased risk of diabetes. Fasting should be balanced, otherwise many of the benefits mentioned will be diminished or lost. Now, considering what reviewed about the way the body functions during fasting and its role in social behaviors, how correct are the common beliefs that we mentioned at the beginning? Can any form of fasting have these benefits? Considering the focus of the concept of health in Islam, which was deeply explored in the true Islamic vocabulary lessons, are all kinds of fasting and hardships healthy? Is the goal of fasting to increase and restore the health of the individual and society, or to understand the life of the poor and eat a delicious meal after death that the individual has avoided during fasting? As we end this session around science of fasting, we invite you to watch next sessions as we explore new and exciting areas and aspects of health.